Hi everybody, welcome to Simply Scuba. Here I have the Oceama Military Dive Torch, a decent sized primary dive torch. This is what, like 1500 lumens or 1500 lumens. Yeah, it's well constructed, very simple to use. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so let's take a look and see what you actually get inside of the box. So this is the box that it comes in. Pretty nice, one of those sort of EVA cases. It's got that sort of semi-rigid protection to it. Decent size. If you wanted to repurpose this, you've got sort of plenty of space inside. So all it has is just the Oceama logo on the front, and then a zippered opening inside of the box. So in the lid, first of all, we have, I imagine, a book of words. Yeah, just the usual information on how to use the torch. So read through that. Ooh, two different types of O-ring. So two spare O-rings, a green one and a black one. And then you also get a wrist lanyard, decent size sort of thread on that. It's not that really thin, wiry stuff that can cut through. This is quite nice, sort of soft stuff. That's that. You also have, this is a UK plug adapter to an EU plug. So yes, I imagine that's for the recharging dock. So spring-loaded recharging dock, you can charge two different sort of batteries at the same time, but you do have to plug that into the mains. Then you get the torch itself. We'll take a closer look at the torch in a second, and some foam padding, which you can remove. So yeah, you can repurpose this this EVA case if you so wish. So yeah, that's exactly what you get with it. I imagine the torches are inside of the, the batteries are inside of the torch. You can kind of hear them on the inside. Yeah, let's take a closer look at the torch. Right, so the torch itself is a sensible size. This is about 20 centimeters long. The weight, it's got a decent weight to it. It feels like anodized aluminium, so pretty strong. It's got this black matte finish to it, which is smooth all over. There's no sort of cross hatching or anything on it. The activation is this metal collar here. So there's no buttons. There's no, well, I suppose technically there is a switch, but it's not a flicky switch. It's a rotational collar. On the front, you just have a single LED, and that's producing 1500 lumens of bright white light, and that's focused into a pretty tight beam. I haven't actually measured the beam angle, but it's going to be somewhere in the region of 10 or 12, I'd reckon. If we open it up, so the head unscrews from the body because inside there are two torches. Lots of screw threads, and you'll see we have two O-rings, a green one and a black one, just like the replacements that you get. So here's the green one, you can see that quite easily, but then above it there is a black one. So if these ever do start to wear out, you do have some replacements. Make sure that they're nice and clean every time that you put them back on, and there's no dust or sand or anything that could compromise the seal. On the inside, it comes with two 18650 lithium-ion rechargeable batteries, and those will just sort of plug into that recharger. You also get these two little cradles, and they basically just act as spacers to protect the batteries so they're not rattling around too much. Pop those back in. And then screw it in. When I do up torches, I always like to unscrew them whilst applying a bit of pressure, just so that you don't cross thread them. If you keep unscrewing it, eventually you'll hear a click, and that just means that the screw threads are lined up. Then you can screw it in. If it's only ever finger tight. If you feel like you really need to kind of wrench it to do it up, it is probably cross-threaded, and you don't want to do that. So just fingers, and that should be plenty. When you get past the O-rings, it gets a little bit stiffer. Then you can start to wrench it a little bit. Okay, turning it on. Very easy. You have this little collar that rotates around, and when it's on, it's on. When it's off, it's off. It's a very simple torch, on or off. No sort of monkey business with different power settings. It's 1500 lumens. That's it. So rotate the collar. That's like a quarter turn, and it's on. So as you can see, pretty tight spotlight. There's a bit of a corona around it. So yeah, it's a good multi-purpose torch. Basically, you can focus on one thing in particular, you can signal quite easily to your buddies, but it's also illuminating things around it as well, so you can see the rest of the reef. And then to switch it off, again, just very easy, you just rotate that collar back. So yeah, very sort of simple torch, nothing too sort of fancy. Oh, at the far end, there's an attachment point for your for a lanyard or a bolt snap, whatever you want to attach onto there. That's built into the body of the torch itself. And I don't believe, oh, this side does undo as well. So you have even more. I didn't know this. I'm finding this out with you. So you have even more sort of O-rings. Again, keep an eye on those. Make sure they're nice and clean. If you can, only sort of use one just to limit sort of how each of those start to wear out. And again, when you're doing that section back up, unscrew it until it clicks and then screw it back up again. And yeah, that's the military torch. Okay, so let's review the military torch. Yeah, it's a tough dive torch. No nonsense, very simple, does the job, and that's all. So with torches, we have 4 different categories and then an overall score. So first of all, we're looking at the power of the torch, how much power it can kick out for a torch of its size and caliber, basically. The beam angle, because there are different beam angles and sort of what it would be useful for. The extras that come with it, the box and all the charging and the bits and bobs. The cost, because obviously the price is important. And then we add them all up and then we turn it into an overall score. So first of all, for power, 1500 lumens, I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5, because for a torch of this size, 1500 is pretty spot on. It's a pretty powerful torch. You can get more powerful, obviously, but it's a good all-rounder kind of sort of power setting. If you go any higher, then it gets in the realms of much more powerful torches, so then the cost goes way up. But for a simple, like, clear blue water kind of night dive, more than enough power that you're going to need. And if you're diving somewhere with a little bit of limited visibility, then yeah, it has got plenty. But if you are diving somewhere that is a bit more murky and you need something to cut through that, then I'd probably step to something with a bit more power, to be honest. Looking at the beam angle, so yeah, it's they haven't measured it for me, and I don't have the apparatus to test it here, but it's somewhere in the realms of, it'll be somewhere between 8 to 20 degrees. It's a spotlight beam. Has a bit of a corona as well, so it'll be useful for signaling to your buddies. You can do some pretty simple torch signals. It's going to pierce through the water pretty well. It focuses it into a pretty tight spotlight, and yeah, you do still have that corona around it to illuminate everything else, so it's not a laser beam that you can't see anything else. So yeah, 5 again, because that's a pretty good all-rounder kind of beam angle. Then we're looking at the extras, so I only gave it a 4. It comes with that nice box, very good box. Comes with the charger. I'd probably prefer a slightly nicer charger. I'm sure this one does perfectly fine, but I'll probably want something a little bit sort of nicer. As far as the torch itself, I'd probably prefer a bit of sort of cross-hatching on it, just to give you a little bit of grip. At the moment, it's a bit smooth. It's not going anywhere if you're holding on to it. But some other torches, they come with a Goodman-style handle. Again, it's going to change the price, but it's just purely focused on the extras. So yeah, it does perfectly fine. It's just, yeah, it could have a few more bells and whistles, but 4 is by no ways a bad score for extras. The cost at the moment, it has a recommended retail price, at least here in the UK, of £130. So that sits at a very sensible level, especially for the power that it's kicking out. So again, 5 out of 5 for me. Yeah, it's you get a lot of bang for your buck, and a pretty tough torch. This can take a bang. You can sort of put that in a pocket and not worry about it. One thing that I was going to mention is that I would be careful when traveling with it. I know this has nothing to do with the cost, this is more sort of extras, but a lot of dive torches, they'll have a locking mechanism when they're in in storage or in your traveling case, because if for whatever reason something did happen and that did activate, then that's just going to get hot and that's going to be quite dangerous. So if I was traveling with it, I'd probably take the batteries out of it, just because there's no locking mechanism to stop that ring from just activating. So if you do have it in a pocket and you are just kind of rummaging around, just be careful and do double check that you haven't activated the torch and then left it, because by the time that you come to need it, the batteries are going to be completely dead. But back to the cost, yeah, 5 out of 5. It sits at a very sensible price point. So yeah, as an overall, this is getting 9.5 out of 10. It is a decent torch. The only place it falls down on is that is in that sort of activation mode. I mean, granted, it's going to be pretty hard if it is just sat in a suitcase for that one particular section to rotate. But it happens. It's happened before with all sorts of switch mechanisms, which is why we have lots of locking mechanisms now on torches. But if you just want a very simple, no-nonsense torch, sensible power outputs, and a no-nonsense power, different programmable settings or something, then yeah, the military torch is exactly that. A very simple torch that just has one setting, on and off, and yeah, rechargeable batteries. Can't go far wrong with it. Okay, so that's the Oceama Military Dive Torch. Tough dive torch with a decent output, 1500 lumens for, I think it's just over an hour at max power. Yeah, it's pretty tough. I'd be quite happy using it. It's a sensible size as well, so you can hold it in your hand and you can kind of shine it around. And yeah, rechargeable batteries as well, so you can recharge it on the go and just top it up. The batteries themselves, 18650 batteries, so they're pretty common size nowadays, especially with dive torches, so you can pick them up all over the place. Yeah, there's going to be far more information on our website, simplyscuba.com. There's going to be a link down in the description below to check it out. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.